Welcome. My name is Michelle Black. I'm the Managing Director for Viking Cruises here in Australia and New Zealand. And we've been absolutely thrilled to host Viking.TV this week, and we hope you've enjoyed watching all the segments. Today I'm your host for the final episode, and we're actually going to go and cook a pavlova in my apartment. I'm standing here in front of where I live. I live in a place called Pyrmont, which is very close to the White Bay Cruise Terminal, which is where our beautiful ships sail into when they come here to visit. So next year we'll have Viking Orion and Viking Mars. So if you do join us down here, you'll get to sort of look at my apartment building, which will be kind of interesting. Anyway, behind me is a spectacular bridge that we've built here in Sydney. It's called the Anzac Bridge. It was built in 1995, so it's not that old when you think about it. And it was renamed in 1998 after our Anzacs, who were our men and women who fought in World War I with Australia and New Zealand Army Corps. So this bridge is a view that you'll see from your ship, so it'll become quite familiar to you if you come and visit us in Sydney. I also thought it was kind of interesting to be standing here as well, because the area that I live in, before it was built with apartments, was actually the Colonial Sugar Refinery here in Sydney. So it was the major producer of sugar, and my apartment building happens to be called Sugar Dock. So I thought it was kind of funny and a little bit relevant, because today we're making pavlova, and for anyone that's made a pavlova before, you know how much sugar goes into that. Anyway, I'm looking forward to cooking for you. This morning I got up early and headed off to the fish markets. The fish markets are very close to where I live and also very close to where our ships dock. And the fish market's quite an institution here in Sydney. It's a working market. It's where all our fish comes in of a morning and is auctioned off. It used to be at live auctions, but that's all now done digitally and online. But it's still a fascinating place to go to. We have some of the best seafood in the world. So I highly recommend, when you are here, if you've got some free time, take yourself off to the fish market and indulge in some beautiful fresh seafood. They also have a fruit market, which was the reason why I went there this morning, because I went to pick up the toppings that we'll put on top of our pavlova when we finish baking it today. And of course I picked the toppings that I guess have been favourites of mine, with some fresh seasonal fruit that we have available. So we're going to go now. We'll go and we'll meet my colleague Jane, who's going to help me out with today. Well, welcome to my home. I'd like to introduce you to my sous chef for today, Jane, my colleague. Jane, would you like to speak to our guests a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Jane Moggridge and I head up marketing communications at the Viking office in Sydney. I've actually been in Australia for about 13 years now, but I have not made a pavlova.
So she's a novice, it's her first time, which is great. I'm not too sure what kind of student she'll be, but we will find out. So now Jane's been a Viking for almost 5 years, and the same as myself, and we love what we do, but we will admit we are not, we're certainly not Nigella. So hopefully you'll find today informative. But anyway, pavlova is something that I've made since I was young. It's an institution here in Australia. It's something that we eat for summer, primarily very popular on Christmas Day, Australia Day, and it's topped with all the beautiful summer fruits that we have. So let's start. Okay, so I've got the ingredients here, so it's probably best we tell you the recipe. It's a good place to start. So for a pavlova, it's primarily eggs and sugar. So we need 6 eggs, and the eggs that I have today, I'm just showing you the eggs in my beautiful basket, are actually from my son-in-law's chickens. So I went down there on the weekend to pick those eggs up. So they're a little bit different in size. Normally when you buy your eggs from a store, they'll be quite uniform. I have some very, very little ones and some very big ones, but I'll go for the bigger ones because we need 6 eggs that are relatively the same size. Then we have 1.5 cups of caster sugar. So if you can hold that up, Jane. Okay. Best to use caster sugar. There are recipes where you can use more granular sugar, but it's just easier if you use caster sugar. So I wouldn't waste my time with anything else. Then we have 1.5 teaspoons of vinegar, which is white vinegar. Then we have 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then we have corn flour, and the corn flour is important. The corn flour and vinegar help with the marshmallow on the inside of the pavlova, because pavlovas are quite different to meringues. Even though they're made from egg whites and sugar and you think that they're quite similar, they're not. Meringues are dry all the way through, and pavlovas have a beautiful marshmallow center in the middle. We will make a slurry with the vinegar and the vanilla into the corn flour. So if you just want to tip all three of those in the bowl there, Jane. You can add them independently, but it's just easier if you mix them into a little slurry. So you tip them in when you've dissolved all the egg whites and sugar together. And you probably need a little teaspoon to stir that around. So just behind you in that drawer there. Excellent, Jane. Just over to the... So once we've made the slurry, then we need to crack our egg whites into the bowl. So just so you know, Jane and I have washed our hands before we've started
Very
today.
COVID
Very good
friendly.
hygiene. So I normally crack my eggs directly into my bowl. So there's some tips to making pavlova, and some of those tips are, they are a little bit temperamental. So you could find on a humid day or a rainy day, your pavlova may not turn out perfect, and that's because of the moisture in the air. So that's something to be mindful of, but hopefully today will be okay because it's not too humid. Sydney is quite a humid city, but today it's quite a nice spring day, so we should be fine. Then also they can be temperamental if you do not use a clean bowl. So you have to have very, very clean utensils and dry, no fats, no oils. So make sure you've washed them out really, really well. And it's probably best to use stainless steel or glass. Plastic, you tend to get residue from other things, so you just can't get them 100% clean. I should have mentioned at the start that you also need to preheat your oven. So I've just preheated the oven, set it at 150 Celsius, and for our American friends, that would be about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Once we put the pavlova in, we'll actually turn it down a little bit, but for now it needs to be set at that temperature. So I'm going to crack the eggs. Jane was a bit terrified that I was going to make her do it. So it's quite easy. I probably should do it into that bowl that I've set aside there to do. Oh, this is a double yolk. Jane, do you want to scurry around the side of me? That's what happens when you have farm fresh eggs. You get 2 yolks, which is pretty awesome if I was making breakfast, but I'm not. So anyway, let's just pop that there. I don't want to lose. Thank you, Jane. Just hold that. And I'm going to have to use my hand, which I wasn't going to do, because I can't tip it into the other half of the shell because it contains another egg yolk. Not sure if that's going to impact on my egg white for the recipe. So I might stick a cheeky little egg in just to make up for the fact that 2 yolks took up that shell. So Jane's done a little bit of research on the history of pavlova. So she has a little story to share.
It's actually a matter of great debate, the history and origin of the pavlova between ourselves in Australia and our friends over the ditch in New Zealand. It's actually named after Anna Pavlova, a Russian prima ballerina who toured here in the early 1920s. And the dessert was made for her apparently in New Zealand, but apparently also in Australia. So
I think in WA, right?
Yeah. In the Esplanade Hotel in Perth. So we both affectionately claim it as our own. Who does it better? Maybe we do, maybe they do, but we're claiming it.
It's a little bit like the story of the flat white.
Yep.
Australians are very, we love our coffee down here. We're coffee aficionados. And I think we both lay claim to
the Great White.
The Great White. Flat white, which is very unique to this part of the world. But I believe our American friends can buy flat whites because I think Starbucks introduced it some years ago, but it does originate from down here. So I'm just doing my egg whites. I've lost count of the number of eggs that I've done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done 5 because I had a double yolk. So I'll grab another 2. So you can see, Jane, it's quite easy.
Yep.
A little Nigella tip is if you're a baker and you use a lot of egg yolks, you can actually freeze your egg whites in little like snap lock bags. If you do them in little packs of 2 and throw them in the freezer, really handy if you want to make a pavlova. Just grab them out, just get 3 little bags out that happen to have 6 egg whites in it. So it's a good way of not wasting egg whites if you're baking and using egg yolks. What am I going to do with these egg yolks? I don't know. But they'll go in my fridge. Ah, yes, mayonnaise,
there you go.
hollandaise sauce,
which we won't be making today.
No, we won't be making today. No, this is about the extent of our. Oh no! And I've just done something which is tragic, and that's dropped a piece of shell in there, which I will have to get out because the shell. And I'm just going to stick my hand in because it's a very big piece of shell, so there's no need to stress. Because the shell will impact on the egg whites whipping. Okay, so I'm just going to wash my hands while we do that. So we've separated all the egg whites. And now we need to start whipping them. And the trick is to beat them until they form soft peaks, and that's, my hands are wet and I've lost my tea towel. Does that feel like that's on there securely? Yep. Let's find out. I'm going to pop this down. Okay, so the secret is you've got to form soft peaks with your egg whites. You don't want to overbeat them because if you overbeat them, they'll kind of, it's not like curdle, I don't know what the right word would be, but they tend to go funny and you have to start again. Don't put it on a high speed, kind of put it around 3 to 4. And then it's just a slow process. So the secret is adding the sugar in slowly so that when you've got the soft white peaks, you start to add in your sugar. It can take anywhere for like 10 to 20 minutes. But the secret is that you do it slowly. Then it'll get to a stage where it's really, really glossy, which we'll see soon. So let's start. So we've just set the KitchenAid at 4. Okay, so we've formed our soft peaks, so now we're going to start to add the sugar. This process is super important because you can't rush it, so it does take a little bit of time. So Jane's going to take over, so that way if it doesn't work I can blame her. So Jane's holding, I think that's like half a cup or a quarter cup. Wasn't full, probably about half full. So we just put that in and then we let the beaters, the wonderful KitchenAid, couldn't live without it. Actually, when I was a kid and we used to make pavlovas, we had to do it not with the actual hand whisk, although I think I might have. Anyway, but definitely with the little electric hand beater, and you had to have a lot of patience because it does take a long time. And you can stop now. Okay. You have to. So you put some in, you wait, you let it dissolve, and then you just add more in about a minute, probably in about 90 seconds, until you've put all the sugar in the bowl.
I might put sugar in.
No, what we might do, Jane, is just stop it for a moment. Yep. Lift it up. You'll see that it's starting to get really glossy and peaky. I'm just going to use the spatula to just scrape down the sides because it's important that all the sugar is dissolved. And by just scraping down the sides, it just makes sure, it just ensures that all the sugar is put into the whipping process. You can kind of hear it a little bit. Yep. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but you can kind of hear
I can hear it.
the granules of the sugar. There was also something that I should have mentioned at the very start of our cooking show today, and that is the importance of using room temperature eggs. Your egg whites must be at room temperature because if they're not, your pavlova is probably not going to work. Take them out of the fridge. If you're making it in the morning, maybe the night before, or if you're making it during the day, try and remember to take them out in the morning before. So we're going to keep going. So we're just going to pop it back down.
Plenty of sugar left.
And we still have a bit more sugar to add. Okay, Jane, well, I think we're almost done with the sugar, but there's one way to test it. So let's stop our beautiful KitchenAid. Just lift up the beater and you'll feel, I won't touch this on the spatula because that hasn't been in there for a while, but if you just take some of it and rub it between your fingers, it shouldn't feel grainy.
No.
I can feel a little bit of grain on mine. So maybe it's just where I caught it on the beater. So I'm just going to clear the spatch if I can put some of that back into the mix. It's very sticky. Let's pop it back down. Do you know how to do that?
No.
Okay, just on this side. Okay, but you know how to start it. Just put it onto 4. We'll just do a little bit more and then we're just about finished. So that should be done. So as you can see, it's really quite glossy. All the sugars dissolved beautifully. So now we just have to add the slurry of cornstarch or corn flour, vinegar and vanilla to the mix. You just put that in at the end and you just beat it for a little bit just so it's kind of blended through. Just an interesting note on the vanilla. If you're a bit of a purist and you like your pavlovas to be white, you probably wouldn't add the vanilla. I think you can add a bit of maybe lemon juice, might do a similar thing. But I've always added vanilla, it's what I've always done. And I understand that people started to add it because they didn't like the eggy taste. But I've never really thought a pavlova tastes like egg. To me, it just tastes like sugar. All the goodness of sweet sugar. So we'll just put this back down again and we'll just turn it on. And then Jane, if you can just slip that into the mix without spilling it. Oops. Excellent. So we just let that blend through. And then we're nearly as good as done. Well, for this stage anyway. Okay, so now it's time to put our pavlova onto our baking tray. So what we do is just use some baking paper so it doesn't stick to the tray. There's probably a trick to kind of adhering the paper to the tray, but I'm a little bit nervous to use butter or oil because I'm not too sure what that actually does to the paper. So I have my trusty sous chef who's going to hold the paper whilst I try to put the pavlova on. Now the great thing about pavlovas is that they're very unforgiving. They're very forgiving, sorry, not unforgiving. And because you cover them, you smother them in beautiful whipped cream and fruit, they don't have to be perfect. So that's just something to remember, right? I know that some chefs are able to make them look almost, perfect. Mine never do. But anyway, we'll do as best job we can today, Jane. So just get it out onto the paper. Some people mark a circle on the paper.
Oh gosh.
I'm kind of not that organised.
I don't think so.
But you'll see, it's quite dense, beautifully glossy. Whoa. Okay. And then the secret.
So does it flatten?
Well, what we do is we actually kind of make like a well. Oops, sorry, in the middle. So we just kind of push her out into a circle, and the kind of by making a well in the middle, it helps with the cream and the fruit.
Great.
And she will probably rise a little bit in the oven. How's that for perfect? Maybe I've done this once or twice before. Maybe. Actually, it's been a little while since I've made pavlovas, so I thought I might have been a little rusty. But it is quite a simple recipe. It's really just the time to blend the sugar and the egg white. But with the modern wonders of a KitchenAid or similar, it's really quite easy nowadays. So, okay.
Voila.
So that's it. We've got a nice little well in the middle that we will fill with cream and fruit after she comes out. So we're going to put her into, it's a she.
Obviously.
A bit like our ships, a she. We're going to place her in the oven where she will stay for 90 minutes. We turn the oven down from 150 to 120, 125, thereabouts, which I think in Fahrenheit is maybe around 250, but I need to check. We'll need to check, but we'll definitely let you know in the recipe on that. And then the other secret to pavlovas is that you let them cool in the oven. So if you are going to make it the night before, it's great because you can leave it in the oven. So you turn overnight. So you turn the oven off after 90 minutes and just let it rest. If you're making it in the morning, depending on when you want to eat it, you just need to let it cool down, because if you take it out, that's probably when it's going to crack or separate. The centre may separate from the outside shell. So make it ahead if you can. However, pavlovas don't keep like meringues do. So you really can't make it that far ahead. So it's not something that you should make 48 hours. You should if you make it the night before, it should be eaten the next day. And keep it in an airtight container, because I think we said at the start of our show that humidity and water can kind of affect the meringue. You'll lose the beautiful crispiness of it. So anyway, she's going into the oven, and in 90 minutes time, we should have a perfect pavlova. I'm just going to place the pavlova in the oven. It's good to actually place it on one of the lower racks. I've taken all of the racks out, so I only have one rack at the bottom. Okay, turn the oven down. So I'm going to turn it down to 125, and then in 90 minutes she'll be ready. So now it's time to dress our beautiful pavlova. So we're using what's called thickened cream in Australia, but I believe it's also called heavy cream. And it's not double cream. No. Heavy or thickened. Double cream is, I think, even thicker. Maybe for scones? Scones? Scones. Okay. I say scones, but some people say scones. So we're just going to tip our thickened creamed. So that's what we use here in Australia. So this will whip really nicely. Jane is going to add just half a teaspoon of vanilla. And some people add sugar, but I don't, because
probably enough.
I think there's plenty of sugar in our pavlova. So we just mix the cream and the vanilla together. So once again, don't over whip your cream. It'll turn to butter, not be very nice, and you have to start again. That said, wasn't too sure how we would go, so I bought two. Okay, so here's our pavlova, and I must say, she turned out pretty damn good.
Pretty impressive.
Made many a pavlova over the years, and sometimes, you get a few cracks, and that's okay. As I said earlier, it's a very forgiving. Keep wanting to say unforgiving. It's a very forgiving recipe because you can cover that up. And if it was really cracked, you could also kind of chop it up and maybe make like an
eaten mess.
Correct. Yeah. Or a deconstructed pavlova, where you could have it like crunched in a parfait glass and then add your cream and add your berries, etc. So there's always something you can do with it. But today we're going to
need to do that.
No, we don't, because it's absolutely perfect. Just showing her off. So we're going to dress the pavlova today. We're going to use my favorite. Berries and passion fruit are good to put on the top of the pavlova because they're slightly tangy, and you've got all the sugar obviously in the pav. But I also like putting banana. I don't know why, I just do. I love the combo of banana and cream
texture,
even though I'm not a big dessert eater. So today we're going to put strawberries, banana, passion fruit, which are my favourites, and then as a tribute to our kiwi friends, we're going to put some kiwi fruit. Now Jane's holding up a passion fruit that she's never seen before. No. It's a very large passion fruit, I will say. Yeah. It's got a Panama passion fruit. So when you cut it open on the inside, it's very seedy, fleshy, so you get a lot of passion fruit out of it. You, of course, don't have to put multiple toppings. You can just put all passion fruit if you like. Nigella has a recipe where she just smothers it in passion fruit. Jane and I had lunch in a restaurant in Sydney the other day. Their signature dessert is pavlova, and theirs was just covered in passion fruit as well. Yeah. But we're just going to put a colourful combination on top so it looks good when you take it to the table. We also have seasonal fruits because it's summer here in Australia. We've got mangoes, which are beautiful, but we're not going to cut those up today. But even like mango and passion fruit on top would be really nice. Or as kids, we used to often put chocolate. So we call them flakes here in Australia. I think, are they 99s in? Yeah, 99s in the UK. So it's just like a very flaky chocolate bar that you can just crumble over the top. So strawberries and a flake or a 99 over the top is nice too. Great. So we're just going to chop up our fruit and then we'll dress. So now we're ready to dress our pavlova with our cream and our fruits. So I'll start with the cream. Now, Jane, when you're cruising with Viking, here in Australia, we actually serve pavlova on the ship. So you'll find it served in the restaurant, which is our main restaurant, and it will probably feature on there as part of the regional specialty menu that we have, that we always have in the restaurant, and is tailored to where we are in the world. And then also in the chef's table, we have a tasting menu in there that is inspired by Australia, and you'll find a version of pavlova in the chef's table.
This one, though?
Well, pretty sure our peers, who are our chefs on board, will do a much better job at making a pavlova than we ever could. But I think this will end up looking okay.
I think it's going to look pretty good.
So I've just put the cream. You can see I've filled the kind of the well in the middle of the pavlova. I did only use one 300 ml container, and probably could have used another one if you like a lot of cream, but we haven't. But I think that will be, let's cover the top and that'll be fine. So we're going to use the Panama passion fruits, and I'm going to let Jane use her creative skills to decorate our pavlova. So do you think you'll make one of these at home, Jane?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to borrow that though, because I'm not whisking all those eggs by hand, that's for sure.
I must say the KitchenAid or something similar does make it a lot easier. They do say that a pavlova is a product of love, and that's quite, you can see that's quite juicy, this pavlova. So that's why you have to dress it and then eat it almost straight away, because the juices of the fruits will change the crispiness of the meringue on the outside.
Another one?
No, I think we're kind of good for now. We might just at the back of your spoon use it to spread it out a little bit, and then we will move it around. Perfect. And then we'll top it with everything else. Let's see if she'll get a job in a
I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is my forte.
And here she is, our finished, beautiful pavlova. So we've had a lot of fun today. It's not our day job, and it never will be. But we have enjoyed doing this, and we hope that you have enjoyed watching us and also feel inspired enough to make a pavlova, maybe when it's summer next time. Great for 4th of July, and obviously in the UK when it's beautiful and warm around Wimbledon time. We know that they eat
in mess
and
strawberries and cream.
And maybe you could eat a pavlova. So we look forward to seeing you down here when our beautiful ships arrive next season, Viking Orion and Viking Mars. And until then, stay safe.